tonight. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau returns from his trip to India, the Saskatchewan government sounds the alarm over being left out of a failed trade talk. Also, a gift with good intentions declined by the province. Why an MRI machine is a hot topic in southeast Saskatchewan. Plus, the Riders are back in Regina preparing to host the Elks after a big loss in Winnipeg.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, September 12th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. The Saskatchewan government says the federal government is risking trade relations with India. It follows the Prime Minister's visit to India this past week. The province says it's being kept out of the loop on a now paused trade agreement between Canada and India. Adam Hunter reports.
More than half of the lentils imported into India come from Saskatchewan. So it's a trading relationship the province doesn't want harmed. Last month, officials in India revealed Canada had requested a pause in the two-country talks regarding a new free trade agreement. But the reason why is not clear. Yesterday, Premier Scott Moe shared a letter that Trade and Export Minister Jeremy Harrison sent to his federal counterpart. Harrison says the pause in trade talks could impact Saskatchewan's economy because of its exports to India.
We've been very concerned, though, that we have been given no updates as provinces through this negotiation, literally in any way, shape, or form. And then we were obviously deeply concerned to hear in the media last week about the negotiations being paused with no consultation, with no discussion with provinces. And obviously for Saskatchewan, this is a really significant thing.
This past week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in India for the G20 summit. Relations between Trudeau and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi appeared strained. Modi pushed for Trudeau to deal with Sikh separatists in Canada, while Trudeau said he wanted to raise the issue of foreign interference by India with Modi. He also wanted India to more strongly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Harrison says this division jeopardizes trade. Saskatchewan resources account for about 40% of Canada's current trade with India.
The Liberal Party of Canada believe it to be in their domestic political interest to have a negative relationship with Prime Minister Modi and his government. And because of that, they have chosen to, again, put that domestic political interest ahead of the national interest in this negotiation.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the federal minister didn't dispute that the provinces have been left out of the loop when it comes to trade talks with India. She says the minister looks forward to meeting with Harrison and other provincial and territorial trade ministers later this week. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
There's growing backlash against the provincial government's decision to refuse a $2 million donation for a new MRI machine. The offer came from a businesswoman in Estevan. In March, she wrote to then Provincial Health Minister Paul Merriman and offered to buy an MRI machine for Estevan Hospital. She would also cover training costs for 2 technicians. The mayor of Estevan says people were really excited by the idea and how it would cut down on travel time to Regina for MRI scans. But the government said no. Today, the NDP weighed in.
I want to start by saying this is ridiculous. Let's get this done. We have a province right now where hundreds of people are waiting for surgery, waiting for MRIs in order to get those surgeries. And we have a citizen who has come forth with an offer, a very generous offer, to purchase an MRI to be used in the southeast corner of the province. Again, this speaks to something we've been seeing from this tired and out of touch government for some time. There is an unwillingness to dig in and be part of the solutions.
In a statement, the province says a thorough plan is key to figuring out if a new health service can be supported long term. The government also says it would like to talk with the philanthropist and the community about ways to advance health care. The NDP is also taking the Sask Party government to task over social housing. Housing critic Mira Conway released figures today. The NDP accumulated data through the Saskatchewan Housing Corporation annual reports, audited financial statements, and Freedom of Information requests. They found rental units hovered around the same mark from 2012 to 2022. But vacancies have nearly tripled. About 18% of available social housing was vacant last year. Conway says the government is dropping the ball.
There seems to be no cold weather strategy. Once again, the province is late to the party in terms of having a plan for addressing homelessness as we go into the colder months. I haven't seen any proof that there's been any come to Jesus moment, any reckoning, any attempt to roll up his sleeves and deal with this issue.
Conway says more units in Regina and Saskatoon are vacant than elsewhere. The Ministry of Social Services says it's working to make more social housing accessible, particularly for seniors. It also says it's making sure units are available for those who need them most. We're learning more about the death of a Saskatoon cyclist who was killed last week. Some residents say they tried to help after it happened. At the intersection of 19th Street West and Avenue P South, 36-year-old Darren Kinowis was hit by a vehicle. The father of two was taken to hospital where he later died, but he wasn't alone. Immediately after he was hit, a woman in a neighboring home says she rushed out and cradled the man's head in her hands.
I was trying to keep him calm, telling him to lay still, and he kept saying it hurts, and I kept telling him he just got hit by a vehicle.
Case says other bystanders stepped in to help before paramedics arrived too. She was shaken by what she saw and wants to see bike safety taken more seriously. Reporter Dane Patterson has more on what people are calling for.
Many Canadian cities have been talking about bike safety and bike infrastructure. There's a focus on Saskatoon right now. This summer alone, there were 2 cycling deaths. That's a lot considering between 2017 and 2021, there were 4 in total.
Just last week, 36-year-old Darren Kinowis died after colliding with a vehicle while riding his bike just near here. Saskatoon police are still investigating, and cycling advocates are angry about another fatality.
It's a mixture of horrified grief for the family and upset because the infrastructure in Saskatoon causes cyclists and people who are not traveling inside a car to have to make dangerous decisions.
In late May, 33-year-old Natasha Fox was hit and killed on her bicycle on College Avenue, a prominent bike area with heavy traffic in Saskatoon. Advocates wanted more infrastructure, more attention, more commitment.
City Council committed to an audit of that intersection, but it's not done yet. They only recently settled on a consultant.
We had a unanimous vote for a study. Could we have a unanimous vote to actually fix things, please? City Council, step up, do it now.
City Council hasn't met since the most recent fatal collision, and Ward 6 City Councillor Cynthia Block says that the city is making changes to make cycling safer in Saskatoon, but more still needs to be done. What do you think?
Want to chime in? You can share your views on our website. Head to cbc.ca/Sask. A 16-year-old boy is facing several charges, including impaired driving, after a hit and run in Regina over the weekend. Police say it happened shortly after midnight Saturday. Officers were called to a home in the 5000 block of 10th Avenue. The report was someone crashed into a building and took off. In the process, a natural gas line and a street light were also hit. Police did track down the team. On top of impaired driving, he's also charged with stealing a vehicle. Health Canada has approved a new Moderna COVID-19 vaccine for everyone 6 months and older. It targets the Omicron subvariant XBB.1.5.
Preliminary clinical data have shown promising immune responses from the XBB.1.5 vaccine, the vaccine receiving regulatory authorization today, against various Omicron sublineages, including EG.5 and BA.2.86.
People 5 and older should receive 1 dose, regardless of vaccine history. Children between 6 months and 4 years should receive 2 doses if they have not been previously vaccinated, or 1 dose if they've already received one. If it's been more than 6 months since the last dose, a shot of the new formulation is recommended. It's expected to be rolled out alongside the fall flu shot early next month. Saskatchewan's life expectancy is at its lowest level in 22 years. And while COVID-19 is certainly a factor, the deaths of young people from drug overdoses and suicide have had the greatest impact. Bonnie Allen explains why.
When Dagan Stevenson gave birth to a little girl, she never imagined her daughter would die before her. Emily Bryce died from a fentanyl overdose in a Regina back alley at the age of 26.
Her dying at this age is mind-blowing.
The deaths of hundreds of young adults from accidental drug poisoning is driving down Saskatchewan's average life expectancy. According to Statistics Canada, it dropped from 80.5 years in 2019 to 78.5 in 2021. So people born in Saskatchewan can expect to live a shorter life than the national average, which is 3 years older. Or people in Quebec who live an average of 5 more years to age 83. Life expectancy declines when more people die or die at a younger age. Experts say both are troubling.
There is a point at which we will not see life expectancy going up as fast or as much or maybe much at all. But we certainly would not expect to see it declining.
In the 2-year period that Saskatchewan's life expectancy declined, records show 686 people died from accidental overdoses, and about 60% were under the age of 50. 414 people died from suicide, and more than half were under the age of 40. In the same period, more than 900 people died from COVID-19. Most were older, and a demographer says their deaths didn't affect the average as much.
Even when the deaths increased during COVID, it affected life expectancy much less than when there is an opioid crisis, which kills young people. And so you are all of a sudden cutting out all those years that they would have otherwise left, and just really makes the life expectancy decrease.
We don't want to ever go to our own child's funeral. But yet we're in a situation where they are dying and they shouldn't be.
Stevenson says the life expectancy decline should be a call to action to address addiction and mental health issues. Bonnie Allen, CBC News.
Oh, look, some people at the Joanne Goulet Golf Course are hanging on to whatever good weather we have left. It's a lot of work to track your ball down among the leaves and the rough. What kind of weather do we have coming this week? Ethan will have your answer after the break. Stay with us. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are leaving last week's loss in the rearview mirror. They got thumped 51-6 in Winnipeg. The Riders' defense is especially under the microscope. Saskatchewan has given up the most points in the league so far this year. They were without Pete Robertson in Winnipeg, serving his suspension for his headbutt in the Labor Day Classic. On Saturday, the defense allowed the Bombers to score on all but one drive.
Guys got to do the jobs. We call it independent contractors when, you're not playing as 12. And I think that kind of crept in a little bit last game. Guys trying to compensate. We have to just buy back into what got us to this point, just everybody doing their job. And I think that's the biggest thing we could take from last week. It was so much mental mistakes, so much guys out of their gaps.
Head coach Craig Dickinson says players were told to watch the game film by themselves, but that the team is moving on. He says the focus is now entirely on Friday's game against Edmonton.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. The Riders hosting the Elks on Friday night. If they keep this up, you won't need a jacket on Friday night.
Yeah, it has definitely felt like summer through portions of the province today. And just how warm have things gotten? Well, close to 30 degrees today in portions of western Saskatchewan. Leader was sitting at 29 just a couple of minutes ago. We're still well into the mid-20s. Even on the eastern side of the province where things are a little bit cooler, 20 degrees, 19 or so, about seasonal for this time of year. And a difference from yesterday where high pressure prevented us kind of from getting to our forecast highs. Definitely not the case today, as that has moved out. And that high pressure moving out has also allowed winds to pick up a little bit. They were in the 40 to 50 range through a good chunk of the province, especially in south and central a little bit earlier this afternoon. They've pulled back a little bit. Saskatoon, we're still seeing some breezy conditions. And we also saw some rain showers move through Saskatoon a little bit earlier this afternoon, too. This line stretching from this low pressure system in east central Alberta. Behind that, in southwestern Saskatchewan, kind of a few pockets of heavier showers here and some moderate to heavier rainfall now moving into northern Saskatchewan too. And I think rain on and off going to be a bit of a theme over these next couple of days. Overnight tonight, seeing increasing cloudiness. That'll keep us warm. We're not looking for frost or anything like that tonight. Temperatures near 10 degrees through the province. But a little bit of some showers beginning to develop tomorrow morning by about 8 a.m. or so. Regina and portions of eastern Saskatchewan could be seeing some showers. Then the next kind of round of it moves in through the afternoon into western sections of the province before that moves out as we head into Thursday and we get some clearing. But northern Saskatchewan, the northern end of this low pressure system, going to intensify a bit as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, bringing some heavier rain, even some pockets remaining as we head into Friday. Southern and central Saskatchewan, again, I think probably only about 2 to 4 millimeters, maybe 5 at most here over this next day or so. But as we head through Wednesday, Thursday in portions of the north, you can see heavier amounts falling in some more sparsely populated sections, but Uranium City getting in that 15 to 20 millimeter range, and we can't rule that out for places like Key Lake and Cree Lake, Collins Bay, maybe even. Winds not too strong in advance of this system moving in, but as it moves through, you see we get over the 50 range in some portions of the province, especially in central regions. And those winds are coming from the west and northwest. And we are seeing a bit of resurgence of fire activity outside that direction. And that means that there could be some heavier pockets of smoke moving in Thursday to the north. Even south and central wouldn't rule out things getting a little bit hazy on Thursday as well. But otherwise, after we get through kind of a cooler couple of days after this system passes us by, the temperatures just shoot right back up. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. That is a 30 degree on the board there for Monday in Regina. Saskatoon, I don't think will quite get as warm as we head through the week, but you'll kind of see that cooling down period and some gusty conditions Thursday, Friday, before the temperatures start to get back into those mid-20s as we head into next week. So much like how winter lingers, Sam, summer definitely wants to have its say too.
Are you sure about that 30, or is that just a tease?
Hey, I mean, it's on there. Oh, we'll take it, right? What am I, the weather guy?
But thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
We'll be back after the break. As case numbers continue to climb, inspectors in Calgary have found critical health violations in the kitchen used by several daycares linked to the E. coli outbreak. More than 250 people have been infected since September 4th. Aaron Collins has the latest.
Alberta Health Services declared an E. coli outbreak.
A full week into a massive E. coli outbreak, Alberta's top health officials finally spoke.
We didn't feel that there was urgency to do that up until this point.
But for days, parents have been asking how dozens of kids have wound up in hospital.
We have not found the source of the infection. We continue to work on that, and we are optimistic that by the time the investigation is complete, we will have a much better sense for exactly what happened.
The health minister offering her support to parents, but for now, little else.
These are very complex investigations conducted by people that have experience, as Dr. Jaffe pointed out. There are numerous tests that are involved. There's very thorough investigations.
The outbreak has been linked to this daycare chain, a kitchen that makes food for them, the likely source. Health inspectors found several major problems with the facility, including food not being handled in a manner that makes it safe to eat, and significant evidence of a pest infestation, including live cockroaches. For families with kids that got sick, worrying revelations.
There's been so many other times when our kids were sent home and, they had diarrhea or whatever. And we were like, okay, we were told, oh, this is just normal. This is toddlers. It's called toddler diarrhea. And I'm thinking now, knowing all of this, were they eating this disgusting stuff that was actually making our kids sick this whole time?
264 cases of E. coli have now been linked to the outbreak. 25 people are still in hospital. This doctor has broader worries. This outbreak a sign of an eroding public health system that's cutting corners.
This doesn't happen by accident. There's a series of mistakes and errors for this stuff to get into our food supply. And if we don't sort it out in a transparent manner, it's going to happen again. And this can kill you.
Health officials insist they will get to the bottom of the outbreak and prevent future ones. The clock is ticking on both of those commitments. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
A Canadian politician was in Washington today to talk about his experience as the target of political meddling by China. Conservative MP Michael Chong called on the U.S. to work with Canada to counter foreign interference. Katie Simpson reports.
It is rare for a Canadian member of Parliament to be the key witness in a hearing on Capitol Hill. Michael Chong's invitation to Washington to tell U.S. lawmakers what it's like being the apparent target of multiple Chinese foreign interference campaigns underscored the urgency of the problem.
Foreign interference is a serious national security threat to Canada. It threatens our economy, our long-term prosperity, social cohesion, our parliament, and our elections.
Chong outlined Canada's biggest concerns, including Chinese attempts to silence dissidents abroad and disinformation campaigns, offering up a series of solutions on how Ottawa and Washington can better share intelligence in a bid to educate voters in real time about interference threats.
One way to counter it is to make it public, to go public with the intelligence, to tell members of the public, members of Congress, members of Parliament, here's what exactly is going on. To arm citizens and elected officials with the information they need to protect themselves. So best practices on how to do that during elections and between elections.
Members of Congress welcomed the ideas, thanking Chong for his willingness to share his story.
It takes an enormous amount of courage, and I just want to let you know how much we admire it and appreciate it, because it takes people like you to speak out, even though you do so with threats and risks to your family.
With plenty of goodwill from the Americans, the challenge now is turning these ideas into plans of action as election season looms in both countries. Katie Simpson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And there is the possibility of some showers tomorrow morning in Regina. Otherwise, looking at mainly cloudy conditions, sitting around 14 degrees. As we head through the afternoon, a chance of showers with us likely until kind of just past the noon hour. And then maybe some more showers a little bit later in the afternoon, too. But again, those winds going to be lighter than we've seen them today. Saskatoon, a little bit less of a chance of showers for you, but you will be seeing that cloud cover definitely heading through the morning hours. And then as we get into the afternoon, that's possibly when we could see a few spotty showers here and there, but winds staying relatively light as well. We're going to keep the harvesting theme going here. Yesterday, Bob Ferguson shared a shot near Colonze, and today it's Kurt near Fleming. He is harvesting wheat, and I think with the rain, Sam, they may be taking a little bit of a break tomorrow.
Keeping our food going and our allergies at the same time.
Yeah, that's right, as always.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Before we go, Apple's latest iPhone's been unveiled, and as anticipated, the charging cord is changing.
The same cable can charge Mac, iPad, iPhone, and even AirPods Pro 2nd generation, which is updated with a USB-C connector.
USB-C is also the standard for many other electronic devices and brands and offers faster data transfer speeds. The company had to make the change to meet European regulations. Apple also unveiled a new watch and AirPods at today's product launch. And that is it for us tonight. We leave you now with some of the highlights from the University of Saskatchewan's Fall Powwow in Saskatoon. Ethan and I are back at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, as we do this rain, we always make sure that we have a little bit of room for our ancestors, those that have